Update, brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300. Manx Radio's Update with Andy Wint.
Pastor Mai, good evening. It's 5:30. This is Update for Thursday, 15th of June 2023 from Manx Radio. 30 minutes to look at the latest news on the Isle of Man. A background to that news and sport, business, Sea-Watch, travel updates and the newsmakers in person. This evening, Rosalind Ranson's second unfair dismissal claim, benefit fraud and who pays it back. The Manx scallop fleet's best season for years, getting more people into sidecar racing, and the future of elections on the Isle of Man, and your view.
Man Benham for all your business and legal needs.
First of all, at 29 minutes ahead of 6 o'clock, the Update News headlines. Fastamai Christian Jones.
Fastamai, a prisoner who was locked up during the height of the coronavirus pandemic, has been told he didn't have his human rights breached when Kenneth Mellor lost his case against the Department of Home Affairs following a 2-day trial, where he argued conditions of his detention breached the European Convention of Human Rights. Meanwhile, the island's former medical director is seeking to advance a second claim of unfair dismissal against the Department of Health and Social Care, despite the tribunal having believed the proceedings would be withdrawn. Dr. Rosalind Ranson was recently awarded a record-breaking payout for the Employment and Equality Tribunal after it ruled she had been fired for whistleblowing. And in less than 3 hours, voting will close in Patrick as residents elect a new commissioner. The candidates are Richard Jones and Kevin Oliphant-Smith. In international news, Labour's called Boris Johnson a liar and a lawbreaker after reports found the former UK Prime Minister repeatedly misled MPs over Partygate and was deliberately disingenuous. The committee says if he hadn't already quit Parliament, it would recommend he suspended for 3 months. Mr Johnson says the findings are trite. Police say the man suspected of killing 3 people in Tuesday's attacks in Nottingham is a former student of a university in the city. Detectives have been given another 36 hours to question him. And employers are being urged to relax dress codes at work during hot weather so conditions aren't unbearable or dangerous. There's no legal maximum temperature for workplaces, but unions say bosses should make extreme heat a priority. Those are the Update News headlines. Next at 6.
Man Benham. Contact us by phone, video call, email or face-to-face. We're happy to connect with you. Manx Radio Weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Jeremiah, thank you, Christian. From the Ronaldsway Met Office, no wind warning in operation for the North Irish Sea. State of sea is smooth or slight. And the weather for this evening, sunny with a light easterly breeze, then patchy cloud after dark and down to 16 Celsius. For tomorrow, Chehenya, it's dry and bright, light to moderate easterly. Cloud will build through the day. Top temperature 22 degrees, overnight minimum 16. Saturday for Jasan, warm and unsettled, some scattered showers, a possibility, up to 20 Celsius. Sunset this evening, 7 minutes before 10. Remember, the summer solstice is next Wednesday. High water is at 16 minutes to 11. Sunrise 16 minutes before 5. Low water is at 3 minutes before 5. And the morning high tide at 6 minutes to 11.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
Yes, you heard correctly. The Isle of Man's former medical director seeking to advance a second claim of unfair dismissal against the Department of Health and Social Care, despite the tribunal having believed proceedings would be withdrawn. Dr. Rosalind Ranson was recently awarded a record-breaking payout for the Employment and Equality Tribunal after it ruled she'd been fired for whistleblowing. The details from Sian Cowper.
The tribunal met this morning to consider a number of issues, including legal costs, Tynwald's Select Committee looking into the handling of the case, and the prospect of a second liability hearing. Dr. Ranson was previously awarded 70% of her legal costs for the original liability hearing, but the Department of Health and Social Care's legal team is challenging whether that figure should include matters handled by her husband, barrister Damien Falkowski KC, who represented her in the early stages of the case. Oliver Siegel KC, now representing Dr. Ranson, told the tribunal the DHSC has opposed all costs relating to Mr. Falkowski's work. work on the case, despite Mr Siegel arguing that the barrister had taken on the case at the expense of other paid work. Chairman of the tribunal, Douglas Stewart, also raised the issue of a second liability claim relating to Dr Ranson's dismissal in January 2022. Having not been transferred to the medical director role within Manx Care, Dr Ranson continued at the DHSC on a limited-term contract until early last year and was dismissed when that contract expired. Mr Stewart told the hearing he understood the medic had filed this claim on a protective basis in case her previous tribunal was unsuccessful and had expected it to be withdrawn after she won her case last year. However, he revealed Dr Ranson has since confirmed to the tribunal that she wishes to proceed with that case, seeking further compensation based on later detriments. Mr Stewart said he was concerned about prejudice to the DHSC and the extra expense to the taxpayer of a second tribunal, stating he had expected the case had reached finality when it concluded its remedy hearing in March, adding, "That is what I'm sure the public of the Isle of Man thought had been achieved." The tribunal will now consider how to progress over these issues and publish its findings in due course.
It's Election Day in Patrick today, and if you're on the list and you can vote, Manx Radio urges you to exercise your democratic right. And of course, you will hear the result tonight from our local democracy reporter, Emma Draper. Talking of elections, there's another chance for you to have your say about the future of elections this evening. The Electoral Commission's holding its second public meeting in Douglas. The first was in Ramsey last month, but only attended by 2 people, including one MHK and a commissioner. Chair of the commission is Sally Bolton.
These meetings are to hopefully engage with the public and gain information and ideas, and also, if possible, to help people to understand what the role of the Electoral Commission is in deciding, amongst other things, whether the boundaries are correct for the constituencies, whether any other things, there's a fairly long list from Tynwald, whether any other things need to be changed, we can include those in our report. I appreciate and I fully understand that it may not be on the front of everybody's radar, but when it comes to an election, if people have the opportunity to make comment, then I would really urge them to do that now. It may seem a long time in the future, but we've got to then prepare our report, and there's a time scale Tynwald follows, and we can't come back to it later. So you've have this opportunity. If you want to say something, please tell us. We aren't judgmental about it. We'll be glad to hear anything that is said. We may have to take other things into account, but we want as much in public engagement either at our public meetings, or also we have an online survey which is on the usual government website, and if you can't come to a meeting, then please complete that. If you can't complete that, please come to a meeting. One or the other. It would be great to see you. There's no criteria. It's just so that we can talk to people and make it as easy for them to come to meet us as is possible. So if you miss this meeting, we have another one in Arbury next week, and then I think on the 29th in Peel. It's at 6:30 at St Andrew's Hall, and we'd love to see you. We will be explaining what our role is and the parameters of our remit, but we are wanting the public to give their comment. We also will have a comments box so people can put in written comments if they want to.
Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates.
The taxpayer isn't paying twice when someone convicted of benefit fraud's ordered to pay back the money they've defrauded from future payments. So says Treasury's Social Secretary Director Victoria McLaughlin, who was on Man in Line today.
Benefit fraud's been in the press quite a lot in the last year or so because they've had a year of quite significant amount of prosecutions. And yes, it's right that sometimes people have money deducted from their future benefits to go towards their overpayment. And I can understand the argument that some put forward that that's paying twice. Well, actually, they would be getting that money in their pocket anyway. If we were to pay them that money and then ask them to repay it, it's much more burdensome for us to have to chase that money back from them, and it's more efficient to deduct it at source. In addition to having to repay that money through through their future benefits, if people have assets, they might have to pay that back more quickly. We have powers to take other action against them. Also, there's been sentences such as suspended sentences, there's been fines, community service orders. They're quite significant sentences that really should discourage people from taking that action. And knowing that we have a really strong team now investigating benefit fraud on a daily basis, and we have lots of allegations coming in. Since April, I think we've had nearly 80 allegations, and we're investigating the vast majority of those. So it will catch up with people.
The Manx sidecar competitor Harry Payne says more needs to be done to get people into sidecar racing. Harry's competing in the World Sidecar Championship in Belgium this weekend, and he gave his thoughts on the debate in TT this year.
It's a difficult one. I mean, people are talking about a different class, a stop class, and I think it was a particularly bad year because of certain factors. Everyone's kind of struggling financially. There were some rule changes that some people might have just struggled with, or a few things and problems outside of racing that might have affected a few entries, and it's just suffered, unfortunately. It's the way it's gone. But realistically, the sport on a whole is suffering, and people keep overlooking this and kind of ignoring it. And unfortunately, it's happening. We're not getting enough people into the sport. And I think really the only person that's doing something really positive about it is Greg Lambert with his sidecar school. And I think that needs to just be pushed so much as possible, because people don't know about this, and it's bad enough that people don't know about the sport with the lack of promotion we get generally, worldwide. It's not really on TV or anything, and it's difficult. But if you talk to someone in the paddock or in the grandstands, you struggle to find someone who doesn't love the sidecars. So on that basis, it just needs better promotion and more people trying it out. And with the roads, the solo scene, you can go and fetch yourself a bike, second-hand bike, and take the lights up, take the mirrors off, and go and do a track day. But it's so difficult with a sidecar. So I really think Greg Lambert's school, and if there's any other schools out there, they need to be publicised better and promoted better, and get these guys trying it.
Sea Watch with the Isle of Man Steam Packet Company.
Mothership Ben McCree departed Heysham at 13 minutes past 2. She's safely on the link span in Douglas now, departing this evening at 7:45. Back to Heysham at 11:30. Overnight departure 2:15, and in Douglas at 6 tomorrow morning. The high-speed craft Manannan departed Douglas at 3:10. She'll be in Liverpool about now and on the link span in the next 10 minutes, departing at 7:15, back to Douglas at 10 tonight. Tomorrow morning's departures, 7:15, Manannan heads to Liverpool, 8:45, Ben McCree to Heysham.
Follow the Steam Packet on Twitter for the latest sailing information.
The Manx scallop fishing fleet's enjoyed its best season for years. A total of 47 vessels landed, almost 90% of the total allowable catch. Chairman of the Manx Fish Producers Association is David Beard.
The key thing to take away from this season is the fact that this is the first year when we've had a reduced number of licensed vessels. So that means there's less boats out there fishing for what is available, which mean they should become more profitable. There was only a total of 47 boats fished this past season. 24 of those were Manx, 23 from UK. So we're just over 50% of the vessels were Manx. That's a really huge change, actually, because if you go back about 6 years, there were over 90 vessels fishing. So we're almost half that level now. And at that time, there was only a third of those were Manx. So it should mean that there's a lot more going through the Manx processes, which helps our contribution to GDP. Well, the thing is that the number of licenses are limited. So it's only those that have a track record based on a few seasons ago where they had to have a certain number of fishing days in that track record period to be able to have a license. So you can only get additional ones if current licenses are handed back in. So there won't be an increase in the number of permitted vessels, because the only way you could get a license would be to have one which was handed back in. So, I mean, one of the things about that is that we do want to encourage young fishermen or new entrants into the fishery. So once people retire or boats are sold or whatever off island, and there's no longer any need for that license, if it returns to DEFA, then it might become available in the future to young fishermen and new entrants, which we need to do. We have to have a succession plan.
Manx Radio Business Briefing.
It's 6:15. Legal & General, the British multinational financial services and asset management company, said today it's appointed appointed Antonio Simoes as chief exec. He succeeds Sir Nigel Wilson, and he joins from Banco Santander, where he was regional head of Europe since September 2020. He leads Santander's businesses in the UK, Spain, Portugal and Poland. Prior to Santander, he spent 13 years at HSBC, including as chief exec of UK and Europe. For a full daily market report, go to ramseycrookall.com. Adidas is hoping for a good kicking, well, a financial kick in the right direction, and Lionel Messi may just do it. Lionel Messi's decision to sign for Inter Miami FC might help Adidas, says Forbes magazine. The German sportswear giant sponsored the Argentinian soccer superstar since 2006, striking a lifetime contract with Messi in 2017 worth $1 billion. Messi's Major League Soccer debut later this summer is likely to drive Adidas's US market share, perhaps boosting the company's stock by up to 30%, which will be good news for Adidas, which has struggled since the financial fallout from its terminated partnership with the rapper and designer Ye. Messi's Miami contract is worth up to $150 million, including profit-sharing agreements with Adidas and Apple.
The Stock Market Report. Brought to you by Ramsey Crookall.
UK and European markets closed slightly lower. The dollar slipped after US retail sales unexpectedly rose in May. Oil rose and gold rose too. The numbers now from Ramsey Crookall at the close in London. The FTSE 100 is up 0.33% at 7,628. The DAX in Frankfurt up almost 0.1% at the close at 16,298. In New York City a short time ago, the Dow Jones Industrial up 1% at 34,335. The Nasdaq Tech Stocks Index up just over 0.5% at 13,705, and the S&P 500 up 0.75% at 4,405. In the exchange markets, the British pound sterling trading at $1 27.6 cents, €1 16.6 cents, and 23 South African rand 30.7 cents. In commodities, gold's up 0.75% at $1,957 per troy ounce, and a barrel of Brent crude up just over 2% at $75.15.
You've got an investment plan?
Yeah, Mike set it up.
But don't you need loads of money to do that?
Not this one. It's called Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, and you pay in monthly as little as £100. So it's like saving regularly, really helping us invest in the future for a house or the kids' education.
£100 a month? I could easily do that.
You should. The sooner you start, the better.
Invest in your future with as little as £100 a month. Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, the island's investment specialist for 75 years. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
People are being urged to avoid using disposable barbecues during the hot weather. 30 firefighters spent more than 6 hours putting out a 1 kilometre blaze on Greba Mountain at the weekend. Firefighter Sean Bostrom and the Department of Environment's Food and Agriculture's Uplands Manager Sean Gelling say in many instances the call-outs could be avoided.
One of the issues with this, apart from the fact that it is detrimental to the environment and wildlife, is that it takes up a lot of resources which cost money in real money terms, but also environmental terms, because we're using fuel, we're using water that's been processed for drinking, and there's a lot of energy wasted there. On top of that, it reduces our resilience as a fire service, so we can't then respond as quickly as we needed to for other jobs that come up, which may be saving life.
I've been working for DEFRA in this sort of capacity for over 20 years now, and every few years we would worry about wildfire risk in the summer, but now it just seems every year. We're a month without significant rain. The peatlands are combustible, so it's not just vegetation now in the uplands that can go on fire. It's the very soil that supports the plant life up there, so it's a huge carbon store, and it's a big worry that if we had a fire it could run for several thousand acres in the uplands, so that's why we want people to be really careful.
We know that these days the disposable barbecues are very, very popular. They're for sale in lots of supermarkets. It's a very rare occasion, but unfortunately in each of these rare occasions it often leads to these sort of fires. Somebody may say, oh, I'll just put it there. They may even intend to come back for it in a little while, and they turn their back and a fire starts because they've left it to cool, but there's still hot charcoal very close to flammable vegetation. In many cases over the last few years, it has been disposable barbecues that have started these incidents. Take a big bottle of water that's just to put that out before you finish. Take it home. Take all your rubbish home.
Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300. Manx Radio Sport.
Here's Sports Editor Faster My Rob Pritchard.
Faster My, good evening. Starting with golf, and two of the island's pro players have been back in action at respective international events throughout today. Anna Dawson was back on the course in Germany earlier for the first day of the Amundi German Masters on the Ladies European Tour. The Peel player finished the first round on 4 over par with a score of 76 heading into tomorrow. Meanwhile, Tom Gandy got his latest campaign underway earlier in the opening day of the Cascada Golf Challenge in the Czech Republic on the Challenge Tour. As of the 12th hole, he was running at 5 over par with play still ongoing. Both Dawson and Gandy's separate events run from today until Sunday. In athletics, Manx athlete Sarah Webster has been selected to represent Great Britain at this year's 50km World Championships. The Northern AC long-distance runner is one of 3 female competitors and 7 overall to fly the flag for GB and Northern Ireland at the event in Hyderabad, India on the 5th of November. Webster's selection comes after she won the 100km Anglo-Celtic Plate event in Northern Ireland in April, breaking the British record for the competition in the process. She then met the qualifying standard for the upcoming championships on the 20th of May when she took victory in the 50km Romanian Championships. Elsewhere in athletics, last night saw the return of the Isle of Man Track and Field Championships locally after a short hiatus during TT. Among the highlights in the 400-metre hurdles, Catherine Perry won in a new personal best time. Elsewhere, Sam Perry won the mixed 1500-metre race, and in the longer distance events, Becky Watterson managed a time of 20 minutes and 22 seconds in a small field for the 5,000 metres, with the top spots in the 3,000 metres going to Ayrton Withington. And finally, a team that competed at this year's TT has raised hundreds of pounds for an injured rider who was forced to miss out on this year's event. Team ILR, run by 12-time TT winner Ian Locker, raised just over £934, as well as more than €65 to help Michael Sweeney with his recovery. Irishman Sweeney sustained several fractures during an incident at the Northwest 200 last month. Team ILR is thanking everyone who donated to the cause during the TT fortnight.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Got some hold-ups at Ronaldsway. The 25 past 5 Loganair from Manchester came in 20 minutes late. The 10 to 8 Loganair from London City's on time. And inbound, the returning patient transfer 5 to 8 Loganair from Liverpool, that's on time. The 5 past 8 EasyJet from Gatwick's not in till 8:30. And the 25 to 9 EasyJet from London Gatwick currently showing at 10 to 10 tonight inbound. Outbound 6 o'clock Loganair to Liverpool's on time. The 25 to 9 EasyJet to Manchester won't be going till at least 9 o'clock, and the 5 past 9 EasyJet to London Gatwick scheduled at the moment for 20 past 10. In Dalby, you got 24-hour lights on the main road. Ballymenic Road in Derby still got those phase closures for water main replacement. In Douglas, temporary lights 24 hours a day on Ballacameen Road for resurfacing. In Kirkmichael, temporary lights on the main road at the junction with Valera Road. They're doing some sewer work, and still got those lights on the TT course just south of Kirkmichael for substation work. In Ramsey, lights on Cumberland Road for resurfacing. Also, East Street is closed for electricity cable repairs. In Laxey, Ballacollister Road's closed between Croyty Quill Road and the Rensall Hill junction there for resurfacing. In Peel, East Quays closed between the House of Manannan and the road bridge. They're doing some work on the road and the pavements too.
Quayside Tyres and Service Centre Club Card has over £400 worth of saving for your whole family. Get more with
Faster My. Good evening. Thanks for joining Manx Radio this sunny Thursday evening. It's 6 minutes before 6, and this is Update. Remember, the Patrick election is still on till the polls close, and we will have the result live tonight on Manx Radio. An Oncombe man's been told to prove that he can become a better person than a drug dealer after being handed a suspended prison sentence. At Douglas Courthouse, Tessa Hawley.
Joseph Christopher Parker of Hilbury View was sentenced at Douglas Courthouse after admitting being concerned in the supply of cannabis between November 2021 and September 2022. The 21-year-old was arrested on the 3rd of September last year after police raided his father's home on Fairfield Avenue in Oncombe as part of Operation Artemis. Christopher Parker was found with 13.5 kilos of cannabis, which had a street value of £288,000 and more than £33,000 in cash. The 44-year-old was later jailed for 5 years for his part in a major drug trafficking operation. As part of the police investigation, officers seized Joseph Parker's mobile phone. Analysis of the device showed he was supplying small amounts of cannabis frequently to friends and associates. The prosecutor told the court Joseph Parker was operating towards the lower end of the chain, but was aware of the wider drug operation in which his father was involved. Parker's advocate described the relationship between the father and son as a toxic environment, adding his client, who had no previous convictions, had lost his job as a result of these proceedings. Imposing a 12-month custodial sentence, suspended for 18 months, Deemster Graham Cook told Parker, "Through effectively your father's criminality, you were arrested. Drug dealing on this island is wrong. Drug dealing anywhere is wrong." Telling Parker he was giving him an opportunity to change, the Deemster added, "Take advantage of that, Mr. Parker. Show them you can be a better person than a drug dealer." Parker will also be the subject of an 18-month suspended sentence supervision order.
That's it from Update Tonight, compiled from the resources of Manx Radio's news department. Thanks to newsreader Christian Jones, producer Rhiann Evans. After the news at 6, we're in the archive room with Judith Lay. The greatest hits with Chris Kinley on till 10 tonight. And we've got the Patrick election result live on air when it happens.
WINT